Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Entire Sri Lankan cabinet resigns, social media ban lifted as country's economic crisis worsens. The entire Sri Lankan cabinet has resigned from their positions, as anti-government protesters defy curfews in the country's worsening economic crisis. All 26 ministers, except for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his elder brother, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, have stepped down. The news first came during a late-night meeting on April 3. Education Minister Dinesh Gunawardena told reporters. Mr. Gunawardena said the President and the Prime Minister will take appropriate action on the Cabinet's offer to resign. Government coalition parties are demanding that a caretaker cabinet be appointed. Why are you protecting a government like this? In Colombo, crowds of professionals, students and mothers with children were confronted by armed soldiers, as they protested Sri Lanka's emergency decree and curfew, demanding the president's resignation. Police fired tear gas and water cannons at hundreds of university students who were trying to break through barricades near the town of Kandy. Near Colombo, students protested while soldiers and police stopped opposition politicians from marching to the iconic Independence Square. This is unconstitutional, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa shouted to the troops who blocked their path. You are violating the law. Please think of the people who are suffering. Why are you protecting a government like this? Social media restored, but unrest grows. On April 3, Sri Lankan authorities blocked access for nearly 15 hours to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp and other social media platforms that were used to organize protests. The nationwide blackout ended at 6 a.m. today. This is unacceptable, said opposition leader Iran Wickramaratne, referring to the curfew and other restrictions. Others stood in small groups outside their homes or gathered in the street, some holding handwritten anti-government banners or waving the national flag. This government, we do not want them anymore, said protester and University of Colombo student Anjali Wanjuragla. They have had years and years to show us that they could do change, but there is nothing. In past years, emergency powers have allowed the military to arrest and detain suspects without warrants, but the terms of the current powers are not yet clear. A nation's economy, spiraling for months, Sri Lankans have endured long lines to buy fuel, foods and medicines, most of which comes from abroad and is paid for in hard currency. The first to disappear from shops was milk powder and cooking gas. This was followed by a fuel shortage, which disrupted transport and caused rolling power cuts lasting several hours a day. The extent of the crisis became clear when Sri Lanka couldn't pay for imports of basic supplies because of its huge debts and dwindling foreign reserves. According to experts, Sri Lanka has nearly $7 billion $9.3 billion, in foreign debt obligations for this year alone. Last month, Mr. Rajapaksa said his government was in talks with the International Monetary Fund. He also turned to China and India for loans, while he appealed to people to limit the use of fuel and electricity and extend their support to the country. As protests grew and calls increased for him to step down, Mr. Rajapaksa assumed emergency powers by decree at midnight April 1. The emergency declaration gives Mr. Rajapaksa powers to preserve public order, suppress mutiny, riot or civil disturbances, or for the maintenance of essential supplies. Under the decree, the President can authorize detentions, seizure of property and search of premises. He can also change or suspend any law except the Constitution. This did little to appease the anger of thousands, many first-time protesters, who felt fed up and exhausted by the crisis. This has united all Sri Lankans. While public resentment is mostly on the Rajapaksa family, anger was also directed at politicians in general and a decades-long system that many feel has betrayed them. At the Colombo rally, protesters turned back an opposition representative, calling out no politicians. What the Rajapaksas have been doing all these years is divide the people along ethnic and religious lines, a protester, Stephen, said. This has united all Sri Lankans, Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims, Burghers, all want them out. The European Union urged Sri Lanka's government to safeguard the democratic rights of all concerns, including right to free assembly and dissent, which has to be peaceful. U.S. Ambassador Julie Chung said Sri Lankans have a right to protest peacefully, essential for democratic expression. I am watching the situation closely and hope the coming days bring restraint from all sides, as well as much-needed economic stability and relief for those suffering, she said in a tweet on Saturday. AP Reuters posted the 3rd of April 2022, updated yesterday at